Now that you've started figuring things out in this transformational journey that you've decided to undertake, you start seeing things. Your awareness is now up there. You know, you have an idea as to where you are, where you would love to be, and where you are mentally, spiritually, physically, and otherwise, even emotionally. You know exactly now what your dominating thoughts and thought patterns and your emotions and emotional patterns, and even your physicality. Now you can really feel yourself, because your physicality is this temple that carries everything else. Thus, it is the point of contact as well for what you might call the soul. So the question is, how must I then relate with all? As things are happening now, we want to create a structure that will channel us towards a particular goal or particular goals. And our major goal here is personal transformation for us to get better so that at least we are successful generally in things, in or in dealing with things or in doing things. How must I relate to or with all? Why must you in the first place relate to all? Maybe you feel this connection, I don't know. But yes, we are connected. That's a story for another day. But ordinarily or generally, there is this feeling that you have that there is something missing. One fact is that you were born equipped with everything that you would need for this journey of life. But the unfortunate part is along the way, through mostly programming, you have been told of inadequacy. You are not enough, you are not enough, you are not enough. And this not enoughness is like a gap that you now feel in your life. Because when you were born, as you were a kid, you felt like everything belonged to you. You know, a kid, even when you're in public transport and somebody's eating a banana or an apple or whatever fruit, the kid believes that fruit is mine. That's what's intrinsic within the kid. Kids know that they own everything. No matter how poor the background they come from is, no matter how rich, but they have this abundance mentality. That's kids for us. But then unfortunately, we started believing, we started being programmed into believing that there is this not enoughness within, and it started growing, and we feel it as a gap within ourselves. So what do? Now you start being programmed into having to go for things, external things. You have to go to school to be smarter. That's what they tell you. You have to get better clothes. You have to, groom yourself to look smarter, which is, they're not really bad things because we all strive for greater, better, and more comfort. But the problem is now we get attached to them. Who is responsible for all these things? That's the other thing. We're speaking here of society. We're speaking here of our family. We're speaking here of the education system. We're speaking here of the commercial system. We're speaking here of the religious system. These are the systems that are I could even call them the culprits who are responsible for this programming of us into the belief system of this not enoughness. These mostly well intended. They'll be thinking that they are participating in the grooming, they are participating in the development of this little child into an adult and further. But the unfortunate part is these systems are also run by people that are unconscious, people that don't know what they're doing, or people that don't know that they don't know what they're doing. That's the unfortunate part. It's just like somebody who's trying to soothe your pain but they're touching you with their own wound. That is what is happening, unfortunately. So that gap, now we are told to try and fill it up with external things. Keep filling it up, keep filling it up, keep filling it up, or keep trying to fill it up. Three things that we need to know about this gap. Okay, before I even talk about these three things, the mistakes that we make is that there's a gap that is supposed to be filled in or filled up, and there are things that will fill that gap up, and there will come a time when that gap is going to be filled up, and everything is going to be okay. So there's this time now we are getting attached to space and time, especially. There shall come a time when this gap is going to be filled. That's the relationship now that we have with things. We have this relationship with all. Space and time, space and time, space and time. And this is what causes our suffering. We now getting attached to things. We now getting attached to time. May a time shall come, a time shall come, a time shall come. Have you ever heard them telling you that you, especially when you were a kid, that you are the future? Are you still the future now? If grown up as I am now, I'm 47. Am I still the future? Was I the future? And then if then 10 years ago, 20, 40 years ago, I was the future, then it must mean that I am the present. But funny enough, I still believe I'm the future. I still believe I'm the future. Or it might happen that I stop believing that I am the past. That's a story for another day. And let's go back to the gap. Three things about the gap. You start believing that this gap is tangible. It is something that needs to find something to be done to it. I should even call it mistake number one. And number two is that there is something that can fit into this gap. This gap. Something that can fit into this gap. And then the third one is that this gap, does it really exist? That's the other question. Is there anything like that gap? Because your understanding of the gap now, of this gap now, is based on the programming. Somebody has told you that there's something that you're missing. Somebody has told you that there's something that you need to have. You know, a religious will come to you and say, you know what, you need to be saved. You need to do this and stuff. You know, and the traditionalist will come and say, you know, these are the things that you're supposed to do. And then the commercial enterprise will come and say, you know what, you need to spray. You know, to use a better cologne. You know your skin. You need something to enlighten it and stuff like that. And then your family will tell you, we have family values, you know, you must behave like this. Maybe you come from the royal family, you're born in the royal family, or you're born from a poor family that said, you know, we're the poor people, you know, we're the humble ones, we're the worm of the dust. And stop. Let's talk about the gap. How then must you relate to the gap? Because all these things that we're bringing into the gap now don't seem to be working for us. And while we are bringing these things into the gap, now we bring in attitudes, now we bring in beliefs, now we bring in even physical things into the gap. And before you know it, we have grown an ego. A personality is an ego. You've grown an ego, and that ego now, that is where your suffering comes from. Because this ego now has this relationship with the gap, believing that this gap is going to be filled. Sometimes temporarily you feel you're soothed from the existence of this gap. It's almost like filled up. Maybe you've had a couple of drinks, maybe you have a smoke, maybe you have some good sex, or you're wearing something that you feel that makes you feel fly, and you've this swagger. But then voila, tomorrow you wake up, the gap is even wider. The gap is the feeling. But then if you were to sit down and say, okay, There is a gap. First thing, is there a gap? There is a gap. But it's all about how you look at it now, what kind of a gap it is. And then, second question is, so what is this gap? And maybe the third one will be, does this gap need to be filled? To answer the last question, does this gap need to be filled? No. This gap is this consciousness that is within, that's ungraspable, that if you keep trying to chase the tangibility of it, you will burn your fingers. Just know that there is this ungraspableness within you, which if you dwell on, if you start getting aware of, there is this peacefulness as well. It's this purity as well. It is where you are supposed to be launching everything from. Because if you see everything through the eyes of this gap, through the eyes of this peacefulness within, through the eyes of this nothingness within, there is no attachment. Stop getting attached to the fact that I have to fill this up. I miss whoever. If only I had this. If only I was richer. If only I had a lot of money. These other things are just the things that are fleeting. They come and go. Tomorrow when you wake up, you might not have the zeros that are in the bank. You know, they can just get wiped out within a minute. But if you believe that, you know, these things, they come and go, and there's infinite potentiality as to, you know, infinite possibilities. Anything can happen. You don't even get attached to the goals. You know, you have a goal, but you know that in between point A and point B, anything can happen. That could bring you good instead of getting attached to a particular outcome. So that gap now becomes your attachment to particular results. But if you believe that, you know, this gap is nothingness, but it is everything because it is filled, it's a field of infinite possibilities, you are free. You won't even need to talk about what kind of a gap that is. So it's all about how you look at it. If you look at it from the ego of trying to filling up a particular tangible physical gap and expecting something tangible to sit within, you will always have issues, and that is slavery. But freedom comes from knowing that this gap, where even the thoughts are arising from, this gap where even these sensations are witnessed. I mean, the sensations of sight, the sensation of hearing, the sensation of tasting, the sensation of touching, and the sensation of, what's the other fifth sensation? You name it. That's your homework. And together with the emotions, you know that these emotions are rising and falling. They are rising from this state of nothingness. Don't worry. Don't get attached to anything. Don't get attached to emotions. Don't get attached to even myself, to what I'm saying. It comes and goes, but from that stillness within, that's purity. That's peace. That's unconditional love. And that's where you can be able to create abundantly. That's where you can be able to dwell peacefully. My name is Ngobawin. Today, I am wealthy. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and like, comment, and share. My sweet love.